was last July when my nightmare became a reality. I arrived late night in Ibiza, and the very next day I went straight to our newly purchased home. But guess what? We weren't alone there. Let me tell you how this traumatic event went down. As I mentioned earlier, it took us more than a year until we were able to find this property. Actually, we saw this property first online and we showed it to our agent. And our agent said, after a few days, she said, oh, this property is no longer available. So after seeing tons of other properties, we went back to Toronto. But something about this property was within our budget, and it was such a beautiful property, so we couldn't get it out of our heads. So I reached out to the seller's agent directly, and he responded to me and he said, no, it's available. So my partner, maybe a week after or a few days after, he returned back to the island with a friend of ours, and he went to see the property and he showed me the videos, and we both knew this was the one. After my partner returned to Toronto, we had a discussion and we decided that we want to go ahead with, putting an offer on this property. So now we don't have an agent. So we had to look for a good, reliable lawyer. And we were so lucky to found this amazing lawyer. Since the agent and the seller, they were both Spanish, and our ability to understand each other was limited. And so our lawyer started negotiations on our behalf, and they did, our due diligence and negotiation. The whole process took between 3 to 4 months. It was lots of going back and forth. But we finally put an offer. An offer got accepted after 3 or 4 months. So my partner arrived in Ibiza earlier than I, because he needed to come here to do the whole exchanging the key and setting up the alarm system and everything. And I was planning to join him a few days after. Setting up a new alarm system takes longer than what we thought it would take, so he didn't have a chance to set it up yet by the time I get there. And I got here very late at night, and we go straight to our property, excited, very next morning. We turn the key, we go inside. But guess what? We're not alone. There are tons of other things in our property. There is a dining table. There are so many baby clothes, woman clothes, shoes, some kitchen stuff. And I am panicking. And I thought maybe my partner is playing a trick on me or something. But I asked, were these stuff here before? And since I never seen the property, the house, and he's panicking and he's like, no, trust me, it was empty when I was here yesterday. So guess what? My nightmare became a reality. We had squatters squatting in our property. We both were in this massive shock and we didn't know what to do. Luckily, I had my passport in my purse, so we go straight to the police station. And I think it was a Saturday or Sunday morning. So we went to our police station, but they were closed or something. So we had to go to another town, another police station. And this lady, she was super helpful. We filed the report, and I am just crying and panicking and just lost, because I read about this problem maybe few months prior buying this property in this Facebook group, and I was showing it to my partner and he was like, oh, don't read into it. It's super rare. It's nothing's gonna happen. But apparently, it's such a big problem in Spain and other countries in Europe that since there is a housing crisis or a shortage, or because a lot of people can't afford to rent, they become squatters. So they go and take over empty and vacant premises. And I don't know how it happened and why it happened, but it happened to us too. Since I read a lot about this topic, I knew our time was super limited. Apparently, you have only 48 hours to get the squatters out of your property, or after that, you are basically done, because you have to take them to court. You have to prove that this is your primary residence. And taking people to court, it takes more than a year or two, or even up to 3 to 4 years. So within that period of time, you're not allowed to go to your property, and if they are living there, you have to pay for the utilities, for their water. You have to pay the property tax. So you are basically done for the next 3 years. So we had to prove to the officer that this property was ours, and we were there a day before, and my husband had photos. He was showing, I went with the alarm system company there. We were there, working on the quotation for the alarm system. We showed photos, and thankfully the officer was very helpful, and she sent 2 officers to our property. And in the meantime, we called the agent just in a panic mode and asked them to meet us at the property. And I called my lawyer. But all of this happened, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday. So everything was way more difficult. Everyone was way more difficult to reach everybody. So we go back to our property with 2 officers, and we meet the agent there. Thankfully, the people who took over our property, they weren't there. So the officers took their stuff and took it out of our premises and put it, outside, and we were getting our stuff back. The officers mentioned that they highly recommend we sleep at the property that night. And guess what? There's a heat wave going on. I don't know, I was sweating. I think it was around 40 degrees or something Celsius. And there is no AC. It's not a livable place. But they were saying, if I were you, I would sleep here the whole night, because they will come back. So we called the locksmith guy, an emergency one, to come. Since it was super hot, it was such a hot day, we sat in the car and we waited for the locksmith guy to arrive. And our plan was just maybe sleep in the car, because we just couldn't sleep inside the house. But we said, okay, if they're saying we have to stay, then we'll just sleep in the car. While we wait for the locksmith guy, we see a car pull out towards our property with a lot of stuff. And first they passed by us, but then I guess he reversed it back and got close to us, because I think he wanted his stuff back. So he gets out with a pregnant lady and a very small child. And it was just, we got super sad. It was such a sad scene to witness. She was pregnant, and I just felt awful. So I asked what they were doing in our property, and I guess, they were just lying, saying, oh, we have a contract. I said, how did you get in? But he just, just saying, oh, I don't speak English, or it was just very difficult to communicate. But they took their stuff, and thankfully they left. This event was so traumatic on both of us that we didn't want to tell a soul. Up to this date, I haven't told my family, and maybe a very few little friends of ours knows about this situation. It was just too much to bear. it was such an eventful and scary situation. And the consequence of not acting as fast as what we did would have been not being able to buy this property, and our deposit and everything, or the whole moving to Spain would have been not possible. So we know how lucky we got, but it was such an scary event for both of us. I often think about that day, seeing that pregnant lady with her child and her husband. It was such a sad scene, and I know a lot of people can't afford housing on this island because it's so expensive. But I also feel that it's not fair to the owners of properties that squatters go to, because they also have no blame in this matter. So I think these countries' governments should have better affordable housings for these people, so they're not taking over other people's property. And a lot of us coming from North America and not knowing these problems are kept in the dark, and it was such a wake-up call for me to be aware of these situations. I hope this video was helpful for those who want to buy a property in Spain or in neighbor countries. And hopefully one day we won't have these housing crisis issues, and everybody can afford to have a roof under their head. Thank you, and see you guys next time.